What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some r/am I the butthole. If you want to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Now, a huge thank you to each and every one of you for being here every day to support me in this way. You are absolutely amazing, and I absolutely love you for it. So thank you so much. Now, I've got some catching up to do on the members, so I'm going to jump straight into it, and you guys are you're absolutely blowing me away. So first, over on YouTube, we got Banana Vortex, Den Soons, Cyborg Charlotte, Catherine, BTS Legends, 30 Keita Green, Sarah Briggs, Rakem Fleming, and Keridwin the Isolation Goblin. Where did you get that name from? And over on Patreon, we had Tina Enoka and Drea. Thank you all so much for your support. I can't tell you how much it means right now to me as we approach Christmas and I'm going to be going part-time. I am scared shitless. But hopefully it should be alright. And just a huge thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time out of your days. Your time is so important and you invest it in this channel, and I'm so thankful for that. So thank you so much. And with that being said, let's just crack on with today's stories. Amazing of you. Our first story comes from OK Uncomfortable 123. Am I the arsehole for telling my sibs I sold our childhood home when I didn't, just to get them out? Okay, so I'm the youngest of 5, and the mess only revolves around me, female 29, my just older sister, female 31, and my older bro, male 36. 2 older sisters aren't part of this, thankfully. Okay, so I currently live with my girlfriend at what was my grandma's home, but I bought said home from mum a bit back for cheap. The house wasn't pristine, and I've sunk a few thousand into it already, and it's looking better. Well, my mum lived in our childhood home with 31-year-old sister and bro for the last forever. 2 oldest sisters live in different states. YS and bro never moved out longer than a year each before moving back. Both are absolute slobs who refuse to clean up after themselves, and they made our mum clean up after them. She couldn't stand the mess and would clean just so she wouldn't have to live in filth. Eventually she, in her 60s, couldn't stand to live there anymore, so I asked her to come live with me. They essentially drove our mother out of her home because they were slobs. Well, she lived with me happily. My house is clean and she didn't have to work and just enjoyed her time in the garden. But she passed away not too long ago. I've barely been coping because out of all my siblings, I was closest with our mum. Our personalities just meshed well, whereas my siblings didn't. She loved them, she wouldn't have cared for them for so long if she didn't, but they stressed her out unbelievably. Well, I found out our mum left our house to me only. She left each of our sibs some money, but the house and everything of hers is now mine. My sibs who live in that house didn't like it and pitched a fit, said I manipulated mum at her weakest into getting the house when they should have gotten it. I told them to go to hell, and the only reason they probably got left to me is because mum knew I'd at least remember to pay the property tax each year so the house wouldn't get taken. Neither of them pay any bills, save for their phone bills, so she probs doubted they'd keep the house long enough if she gave it to them. Well, they expected me to follow in mum's footsteps and pay all the bills there for them. I laughed and told them going forward they'd be paying rent and all utilities if they wanted to stay there, and they'd need to keep the place clean or they were out. They flipped their shit and screamed that it was their childhood home and I couldn't do this. I said the deed is in my name, so I very much can. I sent them a letter that basically said they can either pay rent or they'd be out. They refused, so I sent them another letter saying that they had 30 days to vacate the premises because I'd sold the house. They went apeshit, but they didn't have a leg to stand on, so they bailed. I've since cleaned up the place. It looked like a drug den and cost a lot to deep clean and fix stuff, and I'm renting it out to a nice Asian couple who have a lot of exotic fish. Told some friends I lied about selling the house and they said it was an arsehole move. Am I the arsehole? Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be a controversial one or not, but I'm going to say not the arsehole in this situation, simply because they treated your mother like trash right up to that point, you know. Wow, even up till she passed away, you know, they drove her out of her own home. So your mother clearly looked at you as the responsible one that would look after the house. I don't think it was down to property tax or anything like that. She just saw you as a responsible individual who would look after her home. I mean, they're 31 and 36 years old and they're treating your mum like that and her house like that. So absolutely not the arsehole actually, in my opinion. But Distique says, not the arsehole big time. I'm glad your gamble worked out for you. Getting people out of a house can be a huge hassle. Actual advice arsehole says, not the arsehole. It sounds like you gave them legally required notice to vacate, and with good reason. For all they know, the sale fell through at last minute. Hey, it happens. Claire Swin says, I don't know why the exotic fish part amused me so much, but it did. It's because it was like really specific at the end there. It was kind of weird, but I liked it too. Queen B413 says, not the arsehole. I do however recommend forming an LLC to own the house. If I do a public record search with a street address, it'll tell me who owns the house, and with further digging I can find out where you live. All of this is public record. If an LLC owns the house, then on public record it just say owned by Northeast Property Group. Fake name. You can name it whatever you want. My family has done this in the past to protect themselves from spiteful tenants who get kicked to the curb. I'm not the owner, it's owned by Northeast Property Group. I didn't evict you, someone from Northeast Property Group did. Some very good advice there too. But now I turn it to you guys. What would you do in this situation? How would you deal with it? Do you think that the other two deserve some say in the house? Do you think they deserve to stay there? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from Jadamson. Am I the arsehole for confronting my hard of hearing housemates about her repeatedly walking in on me in the shower? I, male 20, live in a student house with 3 girls, female 20 and 2 guys, male 20. Since moving in, I have been walked in on the shower 3 times, all by the same girl. Every time she has used her partial deafness as an excuse. That was fair enough the first time. The shower is admittedly pretty quiet, but it has happened since 2 more times. The second and third times I suggested that she knock in future. Both times she apologised, saying she forgot. I figured that must have happened to others in the house as well, at some point, so I had a chat with them about it, hoping that we could come up with a way to broach the subject without hurting her feelings. Well, they knew nothing about it. Apparently this only happened to me. I found this suspicious, and so did the others. Half of them agreed that I should confront her about it, while the others told me to leave it. I was content with leaving it, but then it happened again, and I decided to be more firm when tackling the issue this time. I told her I knew she was doing this on purpose and I would like her to stop. She burst into tears and accused me of being disableist. Apparently I wasn't appreciating her inability to hear the shower running. I responded by telling her I understand, but that I have asked her repeatedly to knock before entering so I can make my presence known to her, something that she still refuses to do. I then brought up how I found it odd that this has only ever happened to me and no one else. She was angry and embarrassed, and I told the others about it. She insulted me, calling me a perv and telling me my dick was small, then ran to her room and slammed the door. The others heard everything from downstairs. The guys and one of the girls told me I was out of line for bringing them into it and for pushing the issue when she started crying. The other girl said I was in the right for defending my right to shower in peace, and that the girl who keeps walking in on me needs to have her head examined for the inappropriate way she reacted to being called out. What do you guys think? Am I the arsehole here? Now, my initial thoughts is, there's this little thing you can get on doors, and it makes them stay shut. I think they call it a lock. Get one of those for fuck's sake! But the more and more I was reading this story, the more and more it felt like, yeah, maybe she is doing this on purpose. Maybe she is trying to get like a little sneak peek, which is sexual harassment, which can't be tolerated and absolutely should be called out for that behaviour. Putting myself in her shoes and say I walked in accidentally someone in the shower and someone told me next time knock, I don't think I would forget that. That's not something you forget easily, that you walked in someone in the shower. You'd be embarrassed about that and you'd remember that. Surely. So I can't see it being anything else, right? So I think she should absolutely be called out for it. But Counting the Raven says not the arsehole is sexual harassment, and people would lose their shit if it were a guy doing it to a girl all the time. It being a girl doing it to you constantly doesn't mean she should be allowed off the hook, and to use a hearing loss is bullshit. I have a deaf friend, fully deaf, no sound at all, who puts a hand on the door and can feel the vibration of the shower running. There is 100% no reason your housemate can't do that, but also, why haven't you started locking the door? Diagnosed Wolf says not the arsehole, it's telling that she called you a perv. What if you were on the toilet, no shower noise there? What if you were out the shower but dressing? No shower noise there. It's weird to barge in. Two things to be done here. First, lock the door. Second, make a sign, bathroom in use, do not enter, and stick it on the door at eye height when you go in. Make it large and impossible to miss. 10 to 1 she'll still barge in on you and tell you she didn't see it. St. Alvis says not the arsehole. She can see the shower in use. She can feel the humidity in the air. But maybe more to the point, lock the bathroom door, or install a lock if through some madness it has none. And Ask Aspie says, not the arsehole, she is using her disability to justify her actions, and that isn't fair. If it has only happened to you and she is refusing to knock, then she is doing it on purpose. Why don't you just lock the door though? Lots of just get a lock and lock the door right there. But now, what would you do if you was in that situation? You was having a shower and someone kept repeatedly barging in, even though you told them to knock in the past, but they're using like their hard of hearing as like their excuse. Do you think they're right to do that, or do you think they was just trying to get a little sneak peek? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is from Internal Short 7439. Am I the arsehole for saying that I make the rules in the house I inherited from my mother? Some background info. I, 20 male, started to live with my bio father and his wife a week ago. My mother died when I was 18, and since this house has been passed down on my mother's family for generation, I legally inherited it. My mum and bio father divorced when I was 15. I was never really close to him. To be clear, if I were to rate our relationship, it will be a 3 out of 10. I don't know the reason, but we're just pretty civil to each other. Last year, he married this woman somewhere abroad, and although I was invited, I didn't go because that woman and me are practically strangers. We never talked before, and I only know her appearance from a picture. Because of the pandemic, my bio father asked if they can live here for a while since his pay was recently cut down, so it's hard to keep living in their apartment. Since we have a decent relationship with each other and him saying they'll agree to any condition I set, I won't dive further in the conditions, just normal roommate stuff like not meddling with each other's business. I let them in last week. The first few days were actually pretty normal, just some snide comments from his wife when he's not around about my lifestyle, my house, my decorations, my garden, and whatever she thinks is not good enough. I just always answer with, it's my life, I'm an adult in my own home. I would appreciate if you don't voice out your unsolicited opinions. Then yesterday, for whatever reason it is, she just barged into my room, demanded me to be healthy and bond with them more, then proceed to take my laptop, which I paid for, and my own separate modem, which I also pay for. Of course, I was irritated, and irritated said, "What the fuck are you doing?" She replied with, "I'm making you live a healthier life. From now on, I will regulate your use of internet and laptop. I will be in charge under this roof." After hearing that, I can't help but laugh. I just laughed real hard at her face, like, bitch. This is my house and I provide for myself. I just answered her with, "Are you high on marijuana or something? Seems you forgot this is not your house. This is my house. You don't get to make the rules here. I do. Disturb me once more and I'll make sure you live in the streets." My father is livid last night and he demanded me to apologise to her. Of course I didn't. Lol. I just reiterated what I said to her. That this is my house and if there are problems or whatever, they're free to live out in the streets. Now some of my cousins are telling me that I shouldn't have used my house that I inherited from my mum to shut them up, especially now due to the pandemic. I don't really care about the two of them, but I value my cousin's opinion. Am I the arsehole here? The entitlement is starting to creep in. Even if you did use the "my house" excuse like what you said to them, you're totally valid in doing so. It's your house. You're doing them the favour here, remember. They're not doing you any favour whatsoever. I'm sure they're not paying you rent right now. You're just letting them live there while we're going through this sort of pandemic. So you're doing them an absolutely huge favour. It's for her to burst in on you, a 20-year-old man, and take your laptop away and take your modem away and saying that you need to respect her now. This is giving me serious entitled parents vibes, and she's your mother-in-law. But let's have a look at some of the comments to see what they say. Luna Kip says not the arsehole, they're free to move out if they don't like it. Webby Vanderquack says not the arsehole, they've broken the agreement and you have every right to ask them to leave. Your cousins can take them in if they want to. Paranoid Droid says not the arsehole, doesn't sound like you use the "my house" thing often. This is exactly when you should, when she somehow feels like she should be in control. In what world would she be the one making the rules? She sounds painfully entitled. Maybe this is a pride thing for her. You definitely needed to remind her of where she lives. This kind of behaviour is unacceptable. If your cousins have a problem with it, they can take them in. Plus, you know if it was her house, she'd be more than happy to let you know. Her house, her rules. Classic. Amanda says not the arsehole, but their behaviours are definitely going to escalate. Put them out before they can establish tenancy. Let the cousins who think you're wrong house them. Yeah, isn't there some rule? I'm not sure. I've heard it before in one of these stories, like if they live there for X amount of time, they're entitled to live there or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the rule is. I'm no legal expert. Don't get on me about it. But now I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? How would you deal with it if you was this 20-year-old in your own house and then you have this entitled mother-in-law that you barely know storm in and start taking your possessions and saying you will respect her? What would you do? Oh god, I can't wait for some of your replies. I know what you're like. I know what you're like. But let me know in the comments below and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for not telling my tenant before bringing 2 more dogs home? First of all, feels really weird to call him a tenant because he's our really good friend, but calling him our roommate would have been inaccurate. My boyfriend and I bought a 5-bedroom house in September, and our friend and former roommate moved in with us to rent one of the rooms. His room is in the very back of the house with our other tenant, my boyfriend's sibling, who is barely home. I only mention that to emphasise that our living quarters are very separated and no one really bothers him. I wanted to buy a house instead of renting for many reasons, but a huge one was to have more dogs. I currently have 2 senior dogs with disabilities. I am very involved with a senior dog rescue and was even named their volunteer of the week, so it's safe to say that caring for dogs is a big part of my personality. The very first house project we tackled was to repair our fences so that it'd be safe for dogs. I said this to everyone. I wanted to have fences fixed by Christmas so that I could foster dogs over the Christmas break. Again, it was so clear that my intention was to bring in more dogs. On Thanksgiving morning, I left to volunteer since not many people want to volunteer on holiday. Long story short, I ended up asking my boyfriend if I could bring home a pair of senior chihuahuas because of XYZ, and he said yes. Our friend and tenant has been very clearly irritated since then. I signed up for a 2-week foster commitment and he keeps groaning and saying, only like 1 more week, and groans whenever they bark at him, which is honestly often, but when they realise it's him, they wag their tails and just want to be petted. Today, he sat on the couch and they came over to him to be pet, and he was irritated making comments about how he doesn't want to pet them, and made another, it's only 1 more week comment. I told him the whole reason I wanted to buy the house was so I could foster dogs, and he was like, oh, in a super disapproving tone, and then said, so you bought the house to periodically let strange dogs in, as if that was a really stupid reason. Maybe to some people, but it's my passion. We live in a very expensive part of California, and we charge him $500 a month for his own room when we could easily charge $800 to a stranger. We don't really need the money and would rather rent to someone we know, but he pays 1/6 of the mortgage for the second biggest bedroom and a bathroom basically all to himself. I feel like it's not really his place to act so unhappy about adding 2 tiny dogs in our house, but he's very clearly annoyed. I would never have asked his permission because this isn't his house, it's just his room he's renting, but at the same time, maybe I could have been more clear and told him I was bringing them home. I just don't know if that would have changed his attitude at all. Am I the arsehole? Now let's just start off by saying, although I'm probably going to go down an arsehole route on this one, this is a wonderful human that fosters dogs and looks after them, and we need to applaud that type of behaviour. That is absolutely amazing of this person, and they seem like they have an amazing heart. So let's not forget that. But regardless of how much rent they pay in this situation, they are a tenant in your home. You allowed this guy to live there and charge him rent. So I think if you was going to bring dogs in, you need to be clear on this. You need to have some sort of contract in place for this, and you can't just come in with a my house, my rules mindset, especially when you're charging someone the privilege of staying there. And although myself, I'm a huge dog person, love dogs to bits, you know, absolutely, and I'd love it if I was in that house, to be fair. But some people don't get along with dogs very much, do they? They don't want dog hair on them. They don't want dogs barking at them to be petted all the time. And I could totally understand if I was in his shoes where he would be coming from, and he'd feel a bit put out, that he'd be upset that he has to be confined to his room because there's dogs about that he doesn't get on with. especially when he's paying rent. It may be deducted rent, but still he's paying. But I'm also going to finish this shit sandwich with a good... So she's a wonderful person for doing what she's doing though, right? But let's read some of the comments below to see what they say. Beck Dog says, "You're the arsehole, I get it, I love dogs, but it's rude to bring two new and clearly high maintenance pets into a home without even mentioning it to the paying tenant. Unless you clearly told him up front when he moved in that you plan to be fostering more dogs, that's an arsehole move." Need More Snake says, "You're the arsehole, not for fostering dogs, that's a wonderful thing to do. But yeah, this is the sort of thing you discuss with people if you're living together. You may be charging less than the market rent, but you're still charging rent. He's still a tenant and at least should have been notified before two noisy elderly dogs were brought into the home. I personally would be thrilled if I got home and there were suddenly two foster dogs, but he's not, and he's allowed to not be stoked with it." Gwyther says, "So the specific question is, am I the arsehole for not telling my tenant before bringing two more dogs home? Yes, in the answer to that specific question, you're the arsehole. Your friend who shares your house and pays 1/6 of your mortgage deserves to be part of the decision making process. You're definitely not the arsehole for fostering senior dogs, that's awesome, and it does sound like that you made it clear that sometime in the future you would like to have 6 dogs. But talking about your hopes and dreams is different from the here and now. There's a difference between I like music and I want to fill my home with music someday, and there's going to be a rock concert in the backyard tonight, and both of those are different from we're hosting a Woodstock festival for the next 2 weeks. You're a little unclear about the shared living arrangements. It sounds like you want to be a landlord and tenant arrangement, and your non-roommate may think he is communally sharing space and bills with you. And you're inconsistent that he has his own separate bedroom and bathroom, but he obviously shares space with you if the dogs have access to him on the couch. Do you have any sort of written contract?" Several commenters have mentioned that he could have just moved out. The reason I feel you're the arsehole is that he can't. Moving out takes time, money and planning. You brought the foster dogs home unannounced on a national holiday in the middle of a pandemic. There is simply no possible way to make other living arrangements under those circumstances. You were considerate enough to ask your boyfriend if it was okay to bring home the chihuahuas. Why wouldn't you ask the good friend who lives with you too? I suspect you just got excited about the foster doggos and rushed the decision. It sounds like your friend is at least trying to be tolerant of an awkward situation, even if he isn't happy. The eye rolling and moaning isn't great, but at least he hasn't started an argument. I hope the two of you can communicate better in the future. And that is a fantastic reply. What do you make of the situation? Do you think OP is in the right that it's their house, their rules, or do you think this is a paying tenant and they deserve to have some say? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Now once again guys, here comes the thank yous. Once again, thank you so much for your support. It really does mean the world. The amount of members I read at the very start there, it's absolutely incredible, and I can't thank you enough. As I said before, you are literally changing my life right now. With me going part-time at the end of this year, hopefully, well, it will be at the end of this month or the middle of January, I will be going part-time. Having supporters like you guys and, you know, and everyone for being here and just watching and sharing and everything, it just gives me that so much confidence to carry on. And this is because of you. All down to you. Oh, welling up here. Calm down, Mark. So please, just remember what wonderful humans you are to me. Just remember that. But let me just go on as well, because we got a Christmas competition going on in our Discord. First prize is going to be a retail game of some sort that you can choose, and as well as some waffle merch. And the second and third prizes will be waffle merch as well. It's an art-based competition. You don't have to be good at art. It's festive. Just get those festive feels going. I don't care what it is. Bring it over to Discord and get involved. And just a huge thank you for your support. It really does mean the world to me, and I have been hearing you that you want to hear some like personal stories. I've got some ideas in the works at the moment, possibly a second channel just for those sort of stories, but I'm not sure just yet. I'm just playing with that idea, so let me know your thoughts on that one too. I'm just constantly getting feedback from you guys, and I absolutely love it. It's absolutely amazing of you. But I will see you guys in the next one, you bloody amazing people. Much love to you. Goodbye.